A faint yelp escaped from her when hot coffee accidentally fell on her disabled hand. Her skin burned red. She wanted to move her hand in an attempt to soothe the burning sensation, but it felt numb on the inside. Only the skin felt the pain. Mary hurried worriedly towards Vine, led her out of the kitchen and brought her to the living room, making her sit on the sofa. The other maid brought the first aid kit, and Mary began treating the burn. However, suddenly the door of the living room flew open with such a force that made the walls tremble. The medicine slipped from Mary's hand when she saw Tarrant glaring at him while standing at the entrance. Vine got confused looking at her state, but her worry converted into fear when she saw him storming towards her, his eyes blazing with rage that sent chills down everyone's spine. He took long strides and stood tall in front of her in no time. She looked up at him, surprised by his sudden entrance, but she knew that look on his face all too well. You were supposed to be taking care of her, not letting her get hurt. His voice low and dangerous, as he stared at Mary with a demanding gaze. It was an accident. I didn't mean to. She stammered badly as she sought to justify her side. It's okay. He immediately intervened when she noticed Tang's intense gaze on Mary. I'm fine. Clenched his jaws, barely able to hold himself. Get out. He calmly ordered all the maids and guards to leave them alone, and within a second, Vine found herself alone with him. He picked up the first aid box from the table and quietly made his way towards her. He sat beside her and grasped her hand as if it were the most delicate flower in the world, and began applying medicine while gently blowing on her hand. His all attention was focused on her hand as if this was the most important task which required his 100% attention. Otherwise, all the hell would lose break if he didn't do so. Vine kept staring at him but couldn't help herself to blurt out a question, dragging him back to the reality. Why are you pretending to care? It's not like you're actually worried about me. He faced her and stared at her for a moment, as if he was preparing himself to be rude to her. But before he could open his mouth, Vine interrupted him. I forgot. It's all an act so Mrs. Kim doesn't find out, right? Silly me. Her face displayed calmness, yet her voice dripped with venom. You're right. I don't care about it. I just can't have you being useless if you're injured. Masked his softness behind his rudely cold facade. I am useless. No matter how much ointment you apply, my hand won't work again. Smiled bitterly. And it's my problem, not yours. Her words stung him, and a tense silence filled the room. The air danced with unsaid emotions, until times the intimidatingly deep voice rang through her ears. Get up, he ordered her. What? Phone. We are leaving. He stood up, dialing something on his phone, ignoring the panic. Leaving? Where? She stood up as well with a look of dread in her eyes. I'm not going anywhere. You are. His firm tone left no room for argument. He reached for her arm, but she pulled back and spoke instead. Where are you taking me? Tang's phone rang and he answered it while maintaining an intense eye contact with her over the phone. No need for emergency flight. Get the private jet ready. Cut the call. Vine's face went pale as she couldn't guess the purpose behind his actions. Stop it, Taehyung, she snapped, trying to step back. But he was faster, his hand gently but firmly grabbing her wrist. We are heading to the airport. He said, his voice softer now, almost tender. You need proper treatment for that hand. Why do you care? Her voice was almost a whisper now, her defenses crumbling under the weight of his unexpected concern. Frank's gaze softened for just a moment, revealing a crack in his cold facade. He hesitated, the word stopped on the tip of his tongue. He wanted to tell her the truth, that he wasn't as indifferent as he pretended to be, that her pain tore him more than he would ever admit. But he couldn't. Not yet. Because I need you, Francesca. You are no use to me like this. He finally said, his voice colder than he intended. The hurt in Vian's eyes was unmistakable, but her next words indicated something different. Stop trying to get under my skin. You are giving me the worst ick, so stay away from me. She slightly pushed him by his chest to make a way for her to cross him, but he held her hand and pulled her close to him. He looked deep in her eyes, his warm breath striking her cheeks, making them go red, with blush or anger. Who knows? You're playing this hard. She sharply gave him the side eye and boldly spoke. Or maybe I like that. You won't be able to like it for too long. Is that a threat? Never took her gaze off of him. A promise. And you know I always keep my promises. Vine dared to roll her eyes while her face was just a few inches away from him. Tang unintentionally smirked at her audacity since she was the only girl who could keep this man on his toes, while carrying an unspoken attraction in her every rebellious action. The jet is ready, sir, spoke while keeping his gaze down respectfully. Tang tilted his head to look at Mark and spoke. Let's go. Saying this, he carried her on his shoulder, acting deaf to her whimpers and shouts as she tried to use her voice and small fist to fight the monster in her sight. He walked like a king, accompanied by his security surrounding him, who were looking down, not daring to disrespect him by looking at his wine. He got into his car with Ryan, and many black cars escorted them out under tight security. His behavior and power scared her, yet she couldn't help herself but to curse him after every 5 minutes with short sentences like, arrogant control freak. I hope you step on Legos. May you choke on your own stubbornness. He ignored her all the way, looking to the other side upon her each sentence since the insults she was throwing at him were oddly funny, and only God knows how hard the driver fought from laughing his off, as if his life depended on it, because his cold boss getting roasted by his wife like this was a moment to cherish. But a man gotta do what a man gotta do to keep a job.